learn about for loop. Okay, we will understand something called as for loop. Okay, so this is one of your most important concepts that you have to get your clarity on. Okay, clarity in the sense that you should have complete visualization of how this loop is working. Okay, so if you see a standard for loop would look something like this, right? You would have seen a standard for loop would be looking something like this. So what is the first condition? The first thing that you have, this is called initialization. Here the value of I is initialized. It can be I, j, k, anything. An important thing is this will run only once. Means the starting point is initialized. Okay. Starting point means suppose I tell you you have certain steps, right? You have certain steps and you have to reach till this point. Okay. Suppose this point is 10 and this point is 0. This point is your 2, this is 6, this is 8, and then you have 10. Cool. Okay, I missed 4, so ignore. Suppose you start from 0. How many steps you will need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Suppose you start from 6, you will need only 3 steps. So your starting point, I have to tell you, right? Your starting point I have to tell you. So this will only once you will start from here. Either from here you will go up or from here you will go down. Okay. So once your initialization is done, then the condition is checked. This is your condition. If this condition is true, it will go inside the loop. It will go inside the loop, and then whatever job it has to do inside the loop, it will do all the job, and then come here and then increment or decrement the value as per the loop. Okay. So what did I say? I said this is your point 1. It only runs once. Then this is your point 2. If the condition is true, it will come inside and do the job. Once the job is finished, it will come here and plus plus. And then this loop will again keep running in loops. It will keep running in loops. Again, it will come, it will do the job, it will do plus plus. So I value will become 2. The condition is still true. It will go inside, it will print the value of I. Condition is still true. It will go here, it will increase the value of I. It will come inside. So it is forming a loop. Okay. Same repeated tasks doing repeatedly. And when will it fail? Once the condition becomes false. When the I value will become 6, this condition will become false, it will come out of the loop. Okay. Suppose I ask you what is the complete answer for this. If we try to solve this, what we will get is your what I said, your I is 1, right? So you came here, you put here, and then you see if the condition is true, it will go inside and it will print the value of I as 1. Then it will go here I plus plus. So the value of I will now become, the value of I was 1 initialized. So now it became I plus plus. The value of I became 2, and then it will check the condition. The condition is true, it will come inside and it will print. Then again it will go here I plus plus. The value of I will become 3. The condition is still true, it will come inside, it will print. Similarly 4 and 5 will get printed. Once the value will become 6, the loop will exit and this will be your output. Correct? Important thing is, you might get, this is very repeated. Okay, they ask you every time, which of this loop is wrong? Which of this loop is wrong? Okay, they would ask you something called as which of this loop is wrong. Here you see everything is missing. There is no initialization, there is no condition, there is no increment decrement. This part, right? No part is there. Here initialization is there, but there is no condition, but you have increment decrement. Here initialization is there, but you do not have any other two conditions. If you see here start, but there is no plus plus condition or minus minus condition. Here initialization is only not there, means we don't know, it might be above. So if you see, ideally in a for loop, you have to remember one thing: everything is optional. In for loop, everything is optional. You can have that, you cannot have that. Simple. You can have that, you cannot have that. It is all your wish. Now in this case, since you do not have anything, so something it has to assume, right? When you do not have anything, the loop is always considered to be true. Hence, this loop will run infinite times because the loop will never be false. It will be considered always true. Similarly, this loop will run infinite times. Why? Because it will assume the condition to be true. By default, it will assume the condition to be true. This also same, this also same. This will also run infinite times. Why? Because I is equals to 1, I less than equals to 5, and there is no increment decrement. So I is always 1, I will always be 1, and I value will always be less than 5. So again, infinite times. Okay, here what happens, suppose you have a value called int I equals to 2 here or something. So still correct, still it is correct. It will come here, it will go, and it will go to 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Because I value will keep increasing. Okay, are we clear, guys? Important thing that I want to tell you here is, what mistake that you guys will do is, if you saw clearly, this was nothing but I, right? The final value of I is 6. Okay, the answer that came out here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is correct, but the final value of I was 6 internally. Internally the final value of I was 6, because until and unless I becomes 6, this loop will not fail, right? So remember this, the final value of I is the value which it has when the loop actually failed and it went outside the loop. Okay, you will get a lot of questions we will be solving, you will see and you will understand. Okay, cool. So you understood this. Then suppose we have the second loop here. So here what is happening, here the value of I is 10, and the condition is checking, is I greater than equals to 1? Yes, the condition is true. It will come inside, it will print 10. Then it will go here, it will do I plus 2. So the value of I will become 11. It will come inside and it will check 11 is greater than 1. Yes, it will print 11. Similarly, it will become 12. It is still true. It will print 12. And this loop will never fail. Why? Because your condition will never become fail, because you are increasing this guy. So 12 is greater, 13 is greater, everything will be greater than 1. So this loop will keep running infinite times. Okay. Similarly, let us come to, did I not? Okay, good. Okay, we'll see. Yes. Okay, great. So once we have understood this, let us understand one very tricky part. Let us understand one very tricky thing. This is this. Okay, so let me tell you one important thing about for loop. Something called as semicolon. Okay, something called as semicolon. When you have something called as semicolon in the loop, remember that it will create an empty body loop will be created. Okay, which means this semicolon, because see, loops do not have semicolon. You see, for loop will not have semicolon, right? Loops will not have semicolon, correct? Loops will not have semicolon. But as soon as a semicolon is encountered, you should remember one thing. You can also write int I above also, right? And then you can just directly use I. So that is what I have shown here. Semicolon here. As soon as you find a semicolon, what did I say? It means it will create an empty loop, which means this actually translates to this empty loop. See, here you have empty loop, which also means this particular guy is now outside the loop. Ideally, if this semicolon was not there, then system.out.print I would have been a part of the loop. But since this semicolon is there, and we now know that semicolon does what? It creates an empty loop. So since it creates an empty loop, this system.out.println is now outside the for loop. Okay, that is why what will be the output for this? So it will go from 2. Okay, it will go from 2. It will check the condition is true. It will come inside, there is nothing to do. Wow, it is poetic. See, it will go from 2, it will go inside, there is nothing to do, right? So it will come here, it will do I plus equals to 2, which means this time the value of I will be incremented by 2, so it will become 4. 4 is less than equals to 10, condition is true, it will come inside, still nothing to do, it will come here. 6, condition is true, nothing to do. 8, condition is true, nothing to do. 10 is not less than, but it is equals to 10, so condition is true, comes inside, nothing to do. I plus plus. Once the value of I becomes 12, then this loop will fail, and then this will exit the loop, and then it will come to this line, and then it will print something called as 12 as the answer. Do not give answer as 10. Many of these students, they know that semicolon will create empty loop, and what they will think that acha 2 से 10 तक it went, and outside it will come and it will print 10. No, because see what will happen here. There are 3 things that you have to understand. Here there are three things that you have to understand. Okay, one thing is what, once there is no semicolon, if there is no semicolon, if there would not have been a semicolon, then this loop would have printed something called as this, correct? This would have printed something called as this. Why? Because this would be inside the loop, right? So it would have printed something this. But since there is semicolon, many students will remember that semicolon actually creates an empty loop, so these all will not be printed, and they feel that the last value is 10, that will be there and it will come out and print 10. No, this is also wrong. The exact understanding is the answer will be 12. Okay, the answer will be 12. This is what you will have to understand and get the feel of it, how you're understanding, because once it exits the loop, that time, while that time the value of I was 12, it got more than 10. That is why this loop became failed, and that is why this condition became false. That is why it was able to exit the loop, right? So that is why your answer will be 12 and not 10. Okay, great. Similarly, suppose we have something called as, we'll go to break and continue for sure, but suppose we have something called as loops. In loop, suppose we have more things, right? We have something called as, you can use anything and everything in loop, okay, except this, the decimal means double data type do not use. What I mean to say is, suppose you have something called as for int I equals to 1, I less than equals to 5, I plus plus. So this loop will run 5 times. One time the value of I will be 1, condition is true, it will come inside. Then the value of I will be 2, 3, 4, 5. So this loop will become run 5 times. So you can get the loop to run 5 times even by using something called as character variables. Even by using something called as character variables, you can use, correct? So you can write char c equals to a, c less than equals to capital E, and c plus plus. So one time it will be a, then capital B, then c, then d, then e. Still the loop will run 5 times. Cool. Still the loop will run 5 times. Now suppose you have something as this. How many times this loop will use? You can also use boolean data type. You see, boolean data type also we can use in our loop. We can use boolean data type also in our loop. You see, boolean b equals to true. So what it is saying, boolean b equals to true. This is your initialize. This value is just initialization. So in b, what I have, true. Then you want to check the condition. The condition is what? The condition is b. That means the condition is true. Condition is true means it will come inside the loop. In the loop, it has to print high, and after printing, it will go to this guy, and then now b is becoming false. So the condition is becoming false, and then it will come out of the loop. So your final answer will be high. Cool. So you can do this. You can do this. You can also have one more thing. Suppose you have multiple lines written inside the for loop. Ideally, a for loop, if you will see, it has its own curly braces. For loop will have its own curly braces. Okay, for loop will have its own curly braces. But suppose there is no curly braces, then the rule says only the first line is considered inside the for loop. Only the first line is considered inside the for loop. Only the first line is considered inside the for loop, which means only this part is inside the for loop. This is outside the for loop. This will get executed once the loop execution ends. So what will be the answer? For int I equals to 1, I less than equals to 3, I plus plus, standard.println I means 1, 2, 3, and there is ln, so it will line change, and 3, and then after that it will print something called as hello. Okay, I hope I have made myself clear. Okay, so this would be the answer. Here the answer would be high, right? The important thing that we have to understand is, do not use slow data. I told you. What would be the answer for this? Correct. What would be the answer for this? What would be the answer for this? So you might be thinking, okay, suppose you don't see a semicolon, then you might give the answer as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is wrong. You still saw the semicolon, and you might feel that this will get outside the loop. You might give the answer as 5. That will be also wrong. But now, since you have learned from CodeGanj, you know that it will create an empty loop, and the value of I will be what? Once the I exits the loop. So when the I will exit the loop, when the condition will become false, when the I value will become 6, you might print 6, and this is also correct. But no, this is also wrong. This is also wrong. Why? Now I'll tell you something why. So I told you what I told you. I told you that once you have a semicolon, it is that particular guy is now outside the loop, right? That particular guy is now outside the loop. What has happened here? You see a critical error has happened. You know that this is empty loop, so this loop will run 5 times, no doubt on that. Once the value of I will become 6, it will exit the loop. And come here. But here it will get something called as variable out of scope error. It will give you error. Why? Because you have declared your I inside the loop. You have declared your I inside for loop. So your I will be valid. So your I will be known to the compiler only inside this for loop. The existence of I only lies inside the for loop. As long as you are using I inside this for loop, then it is fine. But now you are trying to access I outside the loop, and hence it will not be accessible as it is not a globally declared variable. Okay, that is why in this question very smartly I had placed I above. For this question to work, I had declared I above. Means it is in your class. It is in your public class ABC. Okay. So I had declared I above. Am I clear? So your I was declared outside the loop. It was not inside the for loop. Understood? So this is one critical error that will happen. And these are very interesting and good questions that keep coming repeatedly. It is the same question, just you have to keep a focus on that semicolon, so you will see, but then you have to see if your I is declared inside the loop or it is declared globally, okay, outside the loop. Correct? Great. So we understood this. Now we will also understand something called as